Princess Zarathes walked back and forth in the big crystal halls of her home. Her beautiful scales moved and changed colors as she felt angry and worried. She was 6 feet tall and looked like a snake person, but much more beautiful. The Velinari people were old and smart. They had lived in space for thousands of years and knew things that other aliens could not understand. The princess stopped walking and looked at the walls made of living crystal. They glowed with soft light that came from inside. Everything in her world was perfect and clean. The air smelled like flowers and metal mixed together. She could hear the gentle sounds of the crystal city growing bigger as new parts formed by themselves. "Mother, must I really wed a human?" she asked when the Empress came into the room. Her voice was like music when she talked. All Velinari people sounded this way. They are such dirty animals. They live for only a few years. They fight all the time. They smell bad and eat dead things. Empress Velinara looked at her daughter with big golden eyes that had seen many years. Her scales were darker than her daughter's and moved in slow waves of deep blue and purple. She wore no clothes because Velinari people did not need them. Their scales were like armor and kept them warm or cool. "My child, you do not understand what is coming," the Empress said. She moved to the big window that showed the stars. "The humans have something we need very much. They know how to fight the Korthik bugs. We are smart and have good machines, but we do not know how to kill things that want to eat us." Zarathes had heard about the Korthik from the war reports. They were big bugs that flew in spaceships. They ate everything they found. When they came to a planet, they ate all the people and animals and plants. Then they made more bugs and flew to the next world. Many smart alien races had tried to stop them, but the bugs always won. "But Mother, there must be other ways. We have mind powers. We can make our ships invisible. We have weapons that can break planets. Why do we need these ugly humans?" The Empress turned around. Her scales became dark red, which meant she was getting angry. "Because, daughter, all our smart weapons and magic powers did not stop the bugs from eating the Krelian Empire last month. The Krelians were even smarter than us. They had weapons that could kill stars, but the bugs ate them all in 3 days." Zarathes felt scared when she heard this. The Krelians had been the smartest people in the galaxy. If they could not stop the bugs, how could anyone stop them? Her scales turned white, which showed she was afraid. "The human soldiers are different," her mother said. "They do not think. Like us, when we fight, we make plans and use logic. When they fight, they do crazy things that make no sense. The bugs cannot understand them. This makes the bugs confused and scared. How can bugs be scared of humans? Humans are so small and weak." "Small, yes. Weak, no," the Empress said. "I have seen the reports. One human ship fought 10 Korthik ships. And the human captain flew his ship right into the biggest bug ship and made it explode. He died, but he saved his people. No Velinari would do such a thing." Zarathes thought about this. Velinari people lived for hundreds of years. They were very careful with their lives. They would never throw away their life just to win a fight. It seemed stupid and wasteful. "The human delegation comes tomorrow," the Empress said. "Their leader is called Commander Jake Morrison. He has the power to make deals for all humans. You will meet him and be nice to him. Do I have to marry him, Mother?" "If we want the humans to help us fight the bugs, yes." "They will not help us for free. They want one of their people to become part of our royal family. This will make them feel safe that we will not trick them later." Zarathes felt sick in her stomach. She had always thought she would marry another Velinari prince. Someone who was tall and beautiful like her. Someone who could live for hundreds of years and have long talks about art and science. Now she had to marry a short, ugly human who would die in maybe 50 years. That night she could not sleep. She went to her computer and looked up information about humans. What she found was very strange. Humans were not the strongest or fastest or smartest beings in the galaxy, but somehow they had taken over many star systems. They had beaten aliens, who were much stronger than them. The computer files said humans were impossible to predict, and too stupid to know when they should give up. Other aliens called them the crazy ones and the species that does not follow rules. Some files said that humans would fight even when they had no chance to win. They would use their own dead bodies as weapons if they had to. One report was very interesting. It was about a human colony that was attacked by robot ships. The robots were programmed to kill all life on the planet. The humans could not fight. The robots with normal weapons. So they did something no other species would do. They broke all their machines and went to live in caves like animals. They spent years learning how to make the robots break by confusing them. In the end, the robots gave up and flew away because they could not understand what the humans were doing. Another file told about human traders who were captured by space pirates. The pirates thought they would sell the humans as slaves. But the humans started acting so crazy that the pirates got scared. The humans sang loud songs and told bad jokes and tried to teach the pirates how to dance. The pirates let them go because they thought the humans were sick with some brain disease. Zarathis closed the computer and looked out at the stars. Maybe humans were not just dirty animals. Maybe they were something else. Something that other smart species could not understand. Something that might be able to stop the bugs when wisdom and weapons could not. She still did not want to marry one of them. But now she was curious about what kind of creature could make space pirates run away just by being annoying. Commander Jake Morrison stepped off his ship onto the crystal ground of the Velinary world. He tried not to look too amazed, but it was hard. The whole planet looked like it was made of colored glass that was alive. The buildings grew up from the ground like giant flowers made of light. The air tasted clean and sweet like mountain water. Jake was 32 years old and had brown hair and kind eyes. He was not very tall, but he stood straight like a good soldier. He wore his best uniform, which was dark blue with gold buttons. On his chest were medals that showed he had fought in many space battles and won. 2 other humans walked beside him. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes was his second in command. She had red hair and green eyes and was very good at planning battles. Dr. Ben Carter was their alien expert. He had studied the Velinary people for many years and knew how to talk to them without making them angry. The Velinary people who came to meet them were very tall and beautiful. Their skin was covered in scales that changed colors like oil on water. They moved like dancers and made no sound when they walked. Jake thought they looked like dragons from old Earth stories, but much more elegant. Commander Morrison said, a voice that sounded like singing. The Empress walked toward them. She was the most beautiful creature Jake had ever seen. Her scales were deep purple and gold, and they moved in slow waves across her body. Her eyes were like liquid gold and seemed to see everything. Welcome to Velinara Prime? Jake bowed low like Ben had taught him. Your Majesty, we are honored that you invited us here. All humans want to be friends with your people and fight the Korthic bugs together. The Empress looked at Jake with interest. Most aliens who came to her world were either scared of her or tried to act like they were better than her. This human just seemed polite and honest. His mind felt calm and strong when she touched it with her telepathy. This is my daughter, Princess Zarathis, the Empress said. She is the one you might marry. Jake looked at the princess and forgot how to breathe for a moment. She was even more beautiful than her mother. Her scales were lighter and moved faster, showing blue and silver patterns. She was much taller than him, but somehow that did not make him feel small. Her eyes were like blue fire, and they seemed to look right into his soul. Princess, Jake said and bowed again. I hope we can talk and get to know each other before anyone decides anything about marriage. Princess Zarathis stared at the human. He was much smaller than she had expected. His skin looked soft and pink and had no scales at all. His hair was short and brown and looked messy. But his eyes were not afraid when he looked at her. Most, aliens were scared when they met Velinary people because they knew about their mind powers. You do not just say yes to marrying me, she asked. Her scales turned light blue, which meant she was surprised. Your Highness, where I come from, marriage means 2 people who care about each other and work together. I want to know what kind of team we might make, not just for politics but as people." The Velinary nobles who were watching started to whisper to each other. Their scales flickered through many colors as they talked with their minds. They had never heard an alien talk like this before. Usually other species just wanted to get something from the Velinary and would agree to anything, the Empress felt. Interested in this human, she touched his mind gently with her telepathy and was surprised by what she found. His thoughts were not organized like Velinary thoughts. They jumped around like wild animals, but there was a strange kind of strength in the chaos. He was not afraid of her or people. He was curious about them. "Come," the Empress said. "We will show you to your rooms. Tonight we will have a big dinner and you can meet more of our people." The humans were taken to rooms made of crystal that glowed with soft light. The walls showed pictures that moved like windows into other worlds. The beds were made of something that felt like clouds but held their weight. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful. "This is incredible," Lisa said as she looked around her room. "Their technology is like magic." "It is not magic," Ben said. "They grow their machines instead of building them. The crystals are alive, and they listen to Velinary thoughts. But we need to be careful. They think we are primitive animals." That evening the humans went to the great dining hall. It was huge and made of crystal that showed the stars outside. Hundreds of Velinary nobles sat at tables that grew up from the floor. They all looked at the humans with curious eyes. Jake sat next to Princess Zarathes at the royal table. The food was strange but tasted good. It was made of plants that grew in ways that seemed impossible. Some of the food glowed with its own light. Some of it changed flavor as he chewed it. "Do you like our food?" the princess asked. "It is very interesting," Jake said. "On Earth we have a saying. When you try new food, you learn about new people." "What is Earth food like?" Jake smiled. "Much simpler than this. We grow plants in dirt and raise animals for meat. We cook everything with fire or heat. Nothing glows or changes flavor." "That sounds very primitive," she said, but her scales showed orange, which meant she was curious. "Maybe," Jake said. "But there is something nice about simple food made with your hands. It connects you to the land and to your family. My grandmother made bread that was just flour and water and yeast, but it tasted like home." Zarathes had never thought about food as connecting people to anything. Velinary food was grown by machines and tasted perfect every time. But this human talked about his grandmother's bread like it was something special and magical. "Tell me about your grandmother," she said. Jake's eyes got soft and happy. "She was a farmer on a small world at the edge of human space. She taught me that the best things in life are simple things done with love. She died when I was young, but I still remember her hands making bread every morning." The princess felt something strange in her chest when Jake talked about his grandmother. Velinary people lived so long that they did not think much about death. But this human carried his dead grandmother in his heart like she was still alive. His love for her made him stronger somehow. "Your people must be very sad because you die so quickly," she said. "Sometimes," Jake said. "But maybe because we know our time is short, we love each other more. We do not waste time on things that do not matter." Zarathes thought about this. Velinary people had so much time that they sometimes spent years arguing about small things. They put off important decisions because they thought they could always do them later. Maybe there was wisdom in knowing that time was limited? The next few days were very strange for Princess Zarathes. Jake Morrison did not act like other aliens who came to her world. He did not ask for technology or weapons or help with wars. Instead, he asked about Velinary art and music and stories. He wanted to know how they grew their crystal cities and why they made their food glow. "Why do you ask these things?" Zarathes said as they walked through the singing gardens. "The plants here made music when the wind touched them." Jake stopped to listen to a flower that sounded like a small bell. "Because if we are going to be married and our people are going to be friends, I want to understand who you really are," Jake said. "Not just what you can do for humans, but what makes you happy and sad and angry. But other species only care about our weapons and our ships. They want to know how to make things like us so they can be powerful too. Jake smiled and touched a tree that grew in spirals toward the sky. Power without understanding is dangerous. The strongest friendships come from really knowing each other, not just using each other. Zarathis felt confused by this human. Her scales showed yellow and green colors as her emotions changed. Your people are known for taking things from others. Why are you different? We take what we need to survive, Jake said. But the smart ones know that the best way to survive is to make real friends, not just people who are scared of you. That night news came that made everyone afraid. The Korthik bugs had attacked a star system only 2 jumps away from Velinary space. They had eaten everything on 3 planets in one day. The bug ships were moving toward the Velinary border. Princess Zarathis ran to the war room where her mother and the generals were making plans. The room was full of moving pictures that showed the bug ships in space. They looked like giant flying insects with metal shells and too many eyes. Jake was in the war room too, which surprised her. No alien had ever been allowed in a Velinary war meeting before. But her mother had asked him to come because humans knew how to fight the bugs. General Kethver was showing the battle plans on the big crystal display. His scales were dark red because he was angry and worried. We will use our invisible ships to attack from 3 sides. Our mind weapons will confuse the bugs and our crystal cannons will break their ships. Jake watched the display and listened to the plan. His face got serious and he shook his head. It will not work. The room became very quiet. All the Velinary generals stared at Jake with angry eyes. Their scales turned bright red and orange. No one had ever said their battle plans were wrong before. Explain yourself, human, General Kethver said. His voice was cold and dangerous. Jake walked to the crystal display and pointed at the bug ships. The Korthik are not like other enemies. They do not have individual minds. They are all connected like one giant brain. When you hurt one bug, all the other bugs learn from it immediately. When you use a trick on them, they never fall for the same trick again. And how would your simple people fight them? The general asked. He did not try to hide that he thought humans were stupid. Jake looked at the general with steady eyes. We would make them scared to learn from us. Princess Zarathis did not understand what Jake meant, but something in his voice made her scales shiver. There was something dark and dangerous in this small human that she had not seen before. The next day, the Korthak fleet came out of hyperspace near the Velinary homeworld. Their ships moved in patterns that made no sense to Velinary science. The bug ships seemed to bend space around them and appear in places where they should not be able to go. They are using living technology, Dr. Ben Carter said as he looked at the scanner readings. Their ships are not just controlled by the hive mind. The ships are the hive mind. They are giant space bugs that carry smaller bugs inside them. The Velinary fleet moved out to fight the invaders. Their crystal ships were beautiful and deadly, like flying jewels that shot beams of pure light. At first the battle went well. The Velinary weapons cut through bug ships like knives through soft meat, but then something terrible happened. The bugs started to change. Every time a Velinary ship used a weapon, the bugs learned how to defend against it. Every time the Velinary used a new trick, the bugs figured out how to counter it. Soon the bug ships were avoiding the crystal beams and their own weapons were punching holes in Velinary shields. We must run away, General Kethver said as he watched his ships falling back. We cannot win this fight. No, Jake said. He was already moving toward the communication station. Lisa, get me Captain Rodriguez on the Defiant. Ben, upload all the crazy human battle records you have. Jake, what are you doing? Princess Zarathis asked. She had never seen him look so serious and determined. Something that no smart species would ever do, Jake said. His smile was scary and exciting at the same time. We are going to teach the bugs that some people cannot be predicted because they do not follow any rules. The human ships were much smaller than the Velinary ships and not as advanced. There were only 5 human ships against 50 bug ships. It should have been a quick fight with the humans getting killed fast. But the humans did not fight, like any species the bugs had ever seen. Instead of making careful plans and using good tactics, they started doing things that made no sense at all. Human ships broke away from the group to attack huge bug ships all by themselves. They would charge straight at the enemy and then run away just when they should have kept fighting. One human captain flew his damaged ship right into a bug ship and made both ships explode. Another human ship sent a surrender message and then shot missiles at the bugs when they came close. A third human ship started spinning in circles while shooting in all directions like it was broken. "This is crazy," General Kethver said as he watched the human ships on his screens. "No," Princess Zarathis whispered as she began to understand. "This is how they stay alive." The Korthak hive mind was very smart, but it had a weakness. It needed to understand its enemies to fight them. It would watch how other species fought and then learn to beat them. But the humans were not fighting in any pattern that could be learned. Every time the hive mind thought it understood what the humans were doing, they would do something completely different. The bugs tried to learn from each human attack, but the next attack would be totally opposite from the first one. The hive mind started to slow down as it tried to process information that made no sense. Then the human ships did something that no other species had ever done. They started using their own damaged ships as weapons. When a human ship was too hurt to fight, instead of running away, it would ram itself into a bug ship and explode. The humans were using their deaths as weapons. The Korthak hive mind had never seen anything like this. In its experience, all living things tried to stay alive. But these humans seemed to think that dying in the right way was better than living in the wrong way. The hive mind could not understand this concept at all. Soon, the bug ships started making mistakes. They would attack targets that were not there or defend against weapons that were not being used. The hive mind was getting confused and scared. For the first time in its existence, it met an enemy that it could not figure out. The Velinari watched in amazement as the bugs began to retreat. The creatures that had eaten entire civilizations were running away from 5 small human ships. And their crazy captains? The Korthak fleet hung in space like angry metal clouds. Their ships had stopped moving forward, but they had not run away either. Princess Zarathis could see them on the crystal displays in the war room. The bug ships were changing shape, growing new weapons and armor as the hive mind tried to understand what had happened. "They are learning," Dr. Ben Carter said as he watched the readings from his scanner. "The hive mind is studying the battle records and trying to figure out why their tactics failed." Jake stood at the communication station talking to his ship. "Captains," his voice was calm, but Zarathis could see the worry in his eyes. "Captain Rodriguez, how many ships do we have left that can still fight?" "3, sir, maybe 4 if we can patch up the Intrepid," came the reply from space. "We hurt them bad, but they hurt us worse. If they attack again, we might not be able to pull off another miracle." General Kethver paced back and forth, his scales showing dark colors of fear and anger. "This is impossible. The bugs should have learned from the first battle. They should be ready for your chaos tactics now." "Maybe," Jake said. "But that is not how human minds work. We do not just have one way to be unpredictable. We have thousands of ways." The Empress entered the war room, her golden eyes bright with something that might have been hope or fear. "Commander Morrison, your people have done something incredible today. But the reports show that the bugs are building new types of ships. They are preparing for another attack." Jake nodded. "Your Majesty, we knew this would happen. The hive mind learns fast, but it has one big weakness. It thinks that all intelligence works the same way it does. It cannot understand that some species think in ways that are completely different." Princess Zarathis moved closer to Jake. "What do you mean?" "The bugs think that chaos is just another kind of order that they have not figured out yet," Jake explained. "They keep trying to find the pattern in what we do. But there is no pattern, that is the point." On the crystal display, the bug ships began to move again. They had grown new weapons that looked like twisted metal spears. Their formation was different too, spread out so that the humans could not ram into groups of ships. "They have adapted to your ramming attacks," General Kethver observed. "And look at those new weapons. They are designed to shoot in all directions at once. Your spinning tactic will not work now. Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Good, I was hoping they would do that. Good, Zarathes asked. How is that good? Because now they think they understand us. They think they have solved the puzzle of human fighting. That makes them predictable. The human ships moved out to meet the bugs again. This time there were only 3 ships that could fight well. The 4th ship, the Intrepid, was held together with emergency repairs and hope. Against them came 30 bug ships, each one bigger and more dangerous than before. But this time the humans did not use the same tactics they had used before. Instead of ramming and spinning and acting crazy, they began to fight like normal space forces. They made formations and used good tactics and followed all the rules of space combat. The Korthak hive mind was ready for chaos, but it was not ready for the humans to suddenly start making sense. The bugs had prepared for wild attacks and unpredictable moves. When the humans began fighting logically, the hive mind did not know how to respond. Now I see, Princess Zarathes whispered. The chaos was not the real weapon. The real weapon is being able to change from chaos to order when the enemy is not expecting it. The human ships worked together like dancers, covering each other and concentrating their fire on single targets. They used textbook tactics that any military academy would teach. But these same tactics caught the bugs completely off guard because they were expecting the opposite. One by one, the bug ships began to fall. The hive mind tried to adapt, but every time it changed its response, the humans would shift to a different style of fighting. Sometimes they would be logical and organized. Sometimes they would break apart and attack wildly. Sometimes individual. Ships would do crazy things while the rest followed perfect military procedure. Captain Rodriguez in the Defiant suddenly broke formation and charged a group of bug ships alone. The bugs thought this was the return of the chaos tactics and spread out to avoid a ramming attack. But instead of ramming, Rodriguez used the confusion to get behind them and attack their weak spots with precision shots. The Intrepid, barely able to fly, suddenly started broadcasting music on all frequencies. The bugs thought this was some kind of psychological warfare and prepared their minds for mental attacks. But the music was just music, a song called Born to be Wild that the human crew liked. While the bugs were trying to analyze the music for hidden meanings, the other human ships destroyed 6 bug vessels. They are not just unpredictable, General Kethver said with something like awe in his voice. They are unpredictable about. When they choose to be unpredictable, the battle began to turn in favor of the humans and Velinari. The bug ships that had seemed so threatening were now flying in confused patterns, unable to decide if they should prepare for logical attacks or crazy ones. The hive mind was trying to think in 2 different ways at the same time, and this was tearing it apart. Princess Zarathes watched Jake as he coordinated the battle. He was not just giving orders. He was thinking 3 steps ahead of the bugs, predicting how they would adapt and then planning how to surprise them again. His mind worked in ways that made no sense to her but somehow produced results that were undeniable. "How do you do this?" she asked him during a quiet moment. Jake looked at her with tired eyes. "We do not think like you do, Princess." Velinari. Minds are like beautiful gardens, organized and logical and efficient. Human minds are like wild forests, messy and chaotic, but full of hidden paths and unexpected clearings. "Is that why other species fear you? Some fear us," Jake said. "Others respect us. A few try to understand us, but most just think we are lucky idiots who somehow manage to survive." On the display, the last of the bug ships were exploding or fleeing into hyperspace. The Korthak hive mind had finally decided that humans were too dangerous to fight. Not because humans were stronger or smarter, but because they were impossible to predict or understand. The Velinari nobles in the war room were staring at the humans with new eyes. These small, short-lived creatures had just done something that no other species in the galaxy had managed to do. They had confused and frightened the Korthak so badly that the bugs had run away. "Commander Morrison," the Empress said, and her Voice held deep respect. Your people have saved not just our world, but possibly our entire civilization? How can we ever repay such a debt? Jake was quiet for a moment, looking at the stars where the bug ships had been. Your Majesty, we did not do this for payment. We did it because friends help friends. And because the bugs are a threat to all thinking beings in the galaxy? Princess Zarathes felt something change inside her chest. This human had risked his life and the lives of his people to save hers. Not for money or power or political advantage, but simply because it was the right thing to do. She had never met any being who thought this way. In the days after the battle, everything changed on the Velinary homeworld. The Crystal Palace that had always been filled with quiet dignity now buzzed with excited conversations. Nobles who had barely noticed the human visitors before now sought them out, eager to understand how such a small force had defeated the mighty Kortha K. Princess Zarathes found herself watching Jake more carefully than before. He did not act like a hero who had just saved a civilization. Instead, he spent his time visiting the wounded Velinary soldiers in the medical centers and writing letters to the families of the human pilots who had died in the battle. You seem sad, she said to him as they walked through the memorial garden, where crystal flowers grew for each Velinary who had died in past wars. Jake stopped beside a new flower that had just begun to grow. It was deep blue with silver edges, representing a young pilot who had died when his ship exploded while ramming a bug vessel. 3 of my people died today, Princess. Good people with families and dreams. Victory always has a price. Zarathes had never thought about victory this way before. When Velinary won battles, they celebrated the clever tactics and superior technology. They did not dwell on the cost. But this human carried the weight of his dead friends like physical wounds. In my culture, we believe that death in battle is the highest honor, she said, trying to comfort him. Maybe, Jake replied. But I would rather have them alive and complaining about the food than dead and honored. That is the difference between us, I think. You see death as acceptable if it serves a purpose. We see it as a failure that sometimes cannot be avoided. Dr. Ben Carter joined them in the garden, carrying a crystal tablet with Velinary writing on it. Jake, I have been studying their battle records. Do you know how many species have tried to fight the Korthak? How many? Jake asked. 47 different civilizations over the past 300 years. Some were more advanced than the Velinary. Some had weapons that could destroy solar systems. All of them lost because they tried to outthink the hive mind. Princess Zarathes felt a chill run through her scales. 47 species. How many survived? 6, Ben said quietly. The rest were completely destroyed. Every planet, every ship, every living being consumed by the bugs. Jake was quiet for a long time, staring at the crystal flower. And now they are afraid of us. Not because we are stronger than those other species, but because we do not think like them. Is that why humans are so good at surviving? Zarathes asked. Because you do not think like anyone else. Partly, Jake said. But mostly because we do not give up. Even when we should, even when it makes no sense. Even when smarter beings tell us we are being stupid. That evening, the Empress called Jake and Zarathes to a private meeting in her personal chambers. The room was smaller than the throne room, but more beautiful, with walls that showed scenes from Velinary history. Ancient battles and celebrations played out in moving crystal pictures. Commander Morrison, the Empress said, I must apologize to you and your people. When you first arrived, we thought of humans as primitive creatures who might be useful as soldiers. We were wrong, Jake bowed respectfully. Your Majesty, you had no reason to think differently. Most species see us as barely civilized animals who got lucky with space travel. But you are not animals, the Empress continued. You are something we have never encountered before. A species that has turned unpredictability into an art form. You do not just survive, you thrive by being impossible to understand or predict. Princess Zarathes stepped forward, her scales showing the deep purple colors of formal speech. Mother, I have something to say about the marriage alliance. The Empress nodded. Speak freely, my daughter. Zarthes looked at Jake, and for the first time since they had met, her scales showed the warm gold colors of genuine affection. Commander Morrison, when you first arrived, I thought you were here to take advantage of our desperation. I believed your people were crude opportunists who wanted to steal our technology. And now, Jake asked gently, now I understand that your people are something much more dangerous and much more valuable. You are survivors who have learned to turn weakness into strength and chaos into victory. But more than that, you are beings who care about honor and friendship and sacrifice. She,